Difficult. Women. Hello.
Hi.
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 How are you?
I'm great.
You know, this is, full disclosure to everybody, this is a pre-recorded episode. Right now, you're going to be in Spain when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
I just want...
We'll be roller skating.
Roller skating. Katie is going to a roller skating camp in Spain.
Malaga, Spain. I spent my whole day, I spent a whole day lubricating my ball bearings. It's a true story.
I think that's so freaking cool, Katie.
Yeah, it's neat. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, I just had to say that.
Yeah,
so picture
Spain.
this, y'all. Listening to this podcast, Katie is somewhere in Spain.
Just flying through Spain on some
roller skating through Spain.
Yep.
But if you didn't know this, I'm Marie.
I'm Katie.
And you're listening to Difficult Women Podcast.
The number one podcast in my mind.
I wonder how many people you'll meet in Spain and you'll tell them about our podcast.
God.
And then our numbers are going to spike in Spain.
We're going to be traveling to Spain all the time.
Oh my God, please.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Please. It's all on you. No press.
Yep, no problem. I got it. Also, we're in a band called Reformed Whores, if you haven't heard. So you should listen to that too. Why not? Speaking of Reformed Whores, I'm just going to jump right into this. Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still thinking about you in Spain, but yeah, girl.
I can't stop thinking myself in Spain. But so we have gotten to do some really cool shows with our band. And one of the bands we performed with not that long ago was this band called This Way to the Egress. They are so freaking amazing. It was the most fun show we'd been doing a long time. It was so fun. There's an accordion. There's a tuba. It's great.
Headbanging tuba player. Yeah.
Tubaist.
Tubist.
But Sarah, one of the ladies in the band who is incredibly talented and writes and performs and sings and plays the piano and the accordion and all the things, she wrote us an email, and I thought this was cool. So she wanted to sort of commiserate and had a question for us. So it's a long email, so I'm just going to kind of summarize. So she, the first thing that had happened to her is that they were at this event that they play every year, and the guy that promotes the event was wearing lederhosen, as one does. And he was walking around, and he said he had reserved his like dick flap. You know, there's like a flap on the front of lederhosen for beautiful women, as he put it. And she was kind of caught off guard when he was like, "Can you sign my flap?" And she said she started kind of signing and then instantly regretted it. And then that whopping 60-second interaction, I had about 1 million thoughts, most of them being, I want to punch this guy in his flap. Should I write something like, wow, I've never seen one so small, or incels unite to get my point across about how inappropriate it seemed, yet I didn't. Partially because of my conditioning to always play nice as a woman, partially because this promoter hires our band every year and it's a massive source of our income, and I didn't want the band to lose that. And partially because I was still shocked that he was even asking me to do that. And she regretted doing it, and then she said the band was really supportive and was like, look, if you needed to say like fuck off to that guy and we lost a job, we would be behind you 100%.
That's amazing.
And that doesn't surprise me because that band is so cool and everybody's so great, but that's really, really, it does surprise me because that doesn't always happen where you have other people like understanding that.
Especially when it comes to money and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the one example that she had being on the road as a woman. And then the other one I thought was interesting. She said, one other circumstance before my question is that we opened for the Dresden Dolls, who is like one of my favorite bands. I love that band. And during our set up, the sound tech went to our trombone player to ask him some questions, and he passed the sound guy off to me, and I introduced myself and began to give him the rundown, and he wouldn't look at me in the face. And every time I told him something, he would double check it with our trombone player as though I may have been mistaken or like I didn't know what I was talking about. I wanted to grab him by the chin and tell him to suck on a stone, but I didn't, again, because she feels like she can't say anything. And it struck me as so ironic that we were the opening act for a band who's fronted by a woman and a feminist at that. And I was getting shunned by a sound tech because I have a cooter. So her question then was, how do you deal with sexism as musicians, performers in a heavily male-dominant industry? And have your experiences been similar? And if so, how do y'all cope personally and handle them professionally?
We've definitely experienced it. We get very angry, but we remain calm.
Yeah, we had one of our first experiences, I think, that was like where I really was like very aware that we were women. I did not know what to do about it. Was when we were in the Joshua Tree area. We were at Pappy and Harriet's, and the venue was cool. They were
super
all cool, but the patrons were very drunk. And we were like selling merch, and they were getting really handsy and like touching us a lot. And we were sort of new to like meeting people. And you didn't want to be rude because they were like buying things from us.
Right.
But at the same time, they were touching us in a way that I was becoming increasingly uncomfortable with. And I think we kind of lucked out where I think someone was like, do you need like some guy to, didn't we have some, or maybe there was nobody at that one.
I don't think that there was anybody because that's when we started requesting if we could have somebody check in on us.
That's right.
Because we really felt unsafe.
I really didn't know what could happen during that. I didn't know if someone was going to reach up her skirt, or I just didn't really know. I was very uncomfortable. And I remember not feeling like I was able to say like, hey, dude, back the fuck off, you know?
Right.
I feel like now we've had enough experience where we can be like, what do you think? Get your hands off of me.
Right.
We can shake hands, we can talk, and we can, you know, sign something. You want to buy something, that's great. But I'm not, you don't own me now because you bought a $10 CD.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that definitely has happened to us, and it's hard.
I remember when we did that one gig, it was when, I think it was in Colorado, Lucas Nelson was opening, and we were the other openers, and Les Claypool was headlining, and we walked into the venue first, and immediately one of the guys was there in the lobby, and he assumed that we were groupies. Like we were on the bus because we had just gotten off of Les Claypool's bus, and he treated us like dirt.
Right.
And then I was like, excuse me, where's the sound? Who's running sound today? And he was like, that's not any of your concern. I'm like, well, it is. I'm actually one of the, the support acts. So like, we need to know.
We have to do sound check.
And he was like, excuse me. And I was like, yeah, we're opening the show tonight. Who is your sound guy?
Right.
Yeah. And he was so rude to us.
Right.
And then, after our show, I remember he came up after and he did apologize.
That's nice. At least he apologized. Yeah. But that's a common thing too. Like a theme with in terms of the sound guys is like all the time people like don't take us seriously, and they like kind of are like, they're kind of dicks to us when we're doing sound check and all that, and they can be difficult. And half the time they don't really know what they're doing.
They mansplain all the time. Everything. And we've been doing this for 10 years. And I'm sure this is what Sarah's
sure.
She's been doing it for even more. And she's the leader of this huge band.
Right.
So like to have a man, and no offense to sound people, like I assume
a lot of wonderful sound people.
Wonderful.
Too.
Yeah. But like some of these experiences have just been completely unnerving, and it just the amount of rage that comes up because we have been doing this for a long time. And no, sir, I don't need you to tell me that my ukulele doesn't plug into an amp or whatever. It's like, well, yes, it's like, yeah, it does. It's an electric one.
Right.
Shove it.
Here's the quarter inch. The other thing too is that but what was always the case was like they'd be kind of dicks to us on these tour especially when we were touring with Les, and like they loved Les and they didn't really take us seriously. And then after our set, they would be the first people to be like, man, you guys are so cool. And I'm like, yeah, well, now we hate you.
Right.
We could have been buddies, but like you're an idiot. So
right.
Also, I had a sound guy blow my eardrum out in Kansas once, and so I never forget.
Yeah. Marsha Belsky does, a comedian friend of ours. I think we've mentioned her before. She does have an incredible comedy song about sound
that's true.
guys.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So yes, Sarah, we totally feel you, and good getting those like stories out because people just need to know like to not act like dicks.
Right. But like we did in our, apologizing episode, it's all about refraining. I mean, it's all about reframing how you speak to these people too. Like, cause I feel like sometimes we go into a venue and like try to be really nice and not apologize, but like, oh, okay. But I like the idea of saying like, I'm not an expert, but I have been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Why don't you try this?
Right. I mean, that's the whole other thing.
Rather than I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. It
know
worked last night. I don't know why it wouldn't work in your venue.
Right. Probably because your DI's broken.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway,
yes, Sarah, we know exactly what you're talking about. I think that just stay strong. All lady musicians out there.
Yeah.
Stay strong. We
got to fight the fight.
And
if anybody has any interest in becoming a sound person and you're a lady, go for it. I know it's probably really inundated with men, but like we need more lady sound people. We do not experience a lot of those, do we?
No. And you know what? Just then we kept saying sound guy, sound guy, sound guy.
Because they've all been sound guys.
Yes.
Anyway,
what are we talking about today?
We're talking about for being forever young.
Forever young. I want to be forever young.
What song is that?
I don't know.
Oh, you just made it up.
No. Don't you know that? It's like
I was thinking of
Phil Collins song or something.
Young, forever young.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Forever young. That's what I was thinking. There's probably a bunch of them. Anyway, the reason why there's so many is because there is so much pressure on all of us to be youthful and stay young forever. And if you're over the age of 23, you're a hag.
You're a hag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a woman, but also if you're a man, you're old.
Right. Well, if you're 32 and a woman, that's when they stop promoting women. Statistically, like you're less likely to get promoted if you're older than 32.
Yeah. Fuck that.
That.
We're not accepting that anymore.
No.
But age is something
that's
that
not acceptable.
Yeah, we've been at this for a while, and age is something that
we've been at life for a while.
We've been here. We've been around.
Yeah.
I've been doing the band and stuff. Mm-hmm. We've been getting mansplained by sound people for a long time.
For so long. I'm not going to say our age, but yes, we've been here.
Because there's so much ageism, we just don't want to talk about our age too much. But it is something that like stresses us out. I wake up in the middle of the night. I know you do too, just sort of being like, oh God, what am I doing with my life? And like time is passing me by. And
well, we got that email recently about, do you think about it as a performer? And yes, we do. I mean, I was reading an article about like the music industry. This woman was talking to like a group, like her manager or something. And she said, he asked how old she was. She said 27. And he was like, well, don't tell people that, because if you're over 30, it's like, it's too late.
Right.
Which is for
so
showbiz.
Stressful.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
That's not fair. That's you can't live life like that. You just can't.
Also, that's not how life works.
No.
You don't like know everything and then, then you can do stuff. You have to like learn stuff and then you can write well.
Right.
I was reading something about how like most poets don't write like their first good poem until they're after 50. Because like you have to live a life.
Right. You have to live. You have to love. You have to live and love.
Yeah. Are there any things, I mean, I'm trying to think like specific things that worry me. I mean, certainly like as a woman, you worry too about like, and we're not married and we don't have kids yet. Like there's that clock that's ticking for sure.
That's definitely
there. And then
there.
definitely in terms of like the business, like you were saying, like 32 or whatever is like people won't even promote after 32. So then there's like a fear of like just being like, has been before you've even started kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Well, do you remember your first mom audition? Like, because there was clearly like a switch.
Full disclosure, I've never been on a mom audition.
What?
They won't send me out as a mom. I don't look like a mom.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they say you're too young looking?
Yeah. So I don't get one. Yeah, I've never been. I would love that though, because there's way more mom roles. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I got mine like 5 years ago. I remember getting the email being like, okay, I guess I'm just switching over from like, cool, grad school student to young hip mom.
Well, I know a lot of people have that experience. I've been sort of like, can I do the moms?
Yeah, I think you'd make a good.
I think I look like a cartoon. I think that's the problem. I don't even think it's not. I mean, I look young. I
do look young. Yeah.
I do look very young. And thank God I'm very young. I'm very, very young.
You're so young. You're 17.
Young. Like
17 years old. I'm waiting until your 18th birthday, baby.
I'm like 1.5 years old. But I think more than anything, I look like a cartoon. So people are like,
interesting.
But yeah.
Well, I'm so eager then to hear if you ever get that mom.
I'll probably just go straight to grandma.
Oh God.
I'll get grandma there.
So I tell you, that is something I'm really looking forward to, is playing those older parts, especially in theater, because I think I love Shakespeare. I would love to do a Shakespeare play. But those like older queen roles.
Yeah.
Cause I would play those in college because I'm a character actor, or at least like in college, I definitely got like the old woman roles, and I loved playing them because they're character roles. But back then it was like I was this young, 20-year-old playing, but to actually have experience of life and then go back and play these roles, I think that would be so neat. And especially like I see myself doing film and TV as an older actress too.
And there are parts.
Well, Sally Field, I mean, she's one of my idols, and I got to work with her on a thing recently, and like just watching her work, and she's definitely older and she is still working and at the top of her game. And she's not letting ageism get in the way. I
mean, but how much you want to bet that they like, it's not, I don't think it came easy for her either, especially that generation.
I'm sure.
I think the one thing we're a little bit lucky about is like, there's been, and we talked about this when we answered the email last time, but like there has been a shift a little bit in like writing more things about people a little bit older. I mean, even like a show like Sex and the City, that was finally about women in their 30s, at least.
Right.
That was like so unheard of, to like care about what a woman in her 30s is doing. But still a lot of shows are certainly like focused toward like 20 somethings, and you know, but it's changing. There's definitely a little bit more room for
one of my favorite movies, Something's Gotta Give. Diane Keaton.
Oh yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
But that was like a kind of a breakthrough film too, because there wasn't a love story about older people. Right. And I think that that's like the thing that like, it just assumes that like older people, your life, like literally there's this like feeling that your life ends at 30.
Right.
Which is like terrifying. That's a terrifying way to like go through life. Yeah.
Another thing I'm looking forward to, wearing linen all the time.
You can do that now.
Can I? Sure. In Brooklyn.
What? Wait, you can do whatever the hell you want.
I want to wear my Birkenstocks and linen.
Just do it.
I just love that look, and I always have, but not for me now. But okay, I'm going to work towards it. I love a good full linen piece. Oh, yeah, okay. Can't wait. I'm excited for that. I'm also excited.
My style, but.
I'm excited for as a young whippersnapper, I love to travel. But I really like to get creative with my travel because I don't have much money. So, but when I get older, my parents do this all the time now, but they do those tours.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of against, and I mean, if you're young and you're going on those guided tours, more power to you. That's amazing. They're very expensive. But also like, I like to kind of curate, you know, what I do when I travel and who I meet and kind of switch up plans last minute because I'm young and blah. But when I'm older, I cannot wait to go on like a river cruise
with
all these old people because my parents do it now in their 70s and it sounds unbelievable. You just show up, your whole trip is planned and they have wine flowing from the second you step on board. And you don't really have to think about it. And that's not what I like to do right now.
So thank God. They just came out with ones for people in their 30s and 40s. Same thing. But it's not young people. It's like middle people and specifically for solo travelers.
Oh.
Which is cool. So like they were talking about people really make good connections there. And you know,
see,
maybe
I would
you
like
your
something like that.
Husband, but maybe you also just make some good friends. And I looked it up. It's like, and they go to really like adventurous places. Like, they had like a Tanzania one and they had like some big mountain climbing ones. But those, they are like kind of expensive. I mean, I can't afford them right now. But
it all gets kind of expensive. But those are linen and river cruises. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's cool.
What are you looking forward to as you get older?
I don't think so much about the looking forward to. I'm not really sure where I'm going to be. I don't have a lot of
like living.
Yeah, like where I'll be, where I'm living. I think I have faith in myself that I'll be doing something neat. But like, I think the thing that I'm enjoying the most about being older than 22 or whatever the ideal age as a woman or whatever.
Right.
So stupid. Is that like when I was 22, I found this old like photo album the other day and was like flipping through stuff, and I just was like. First of all, I was so cute and skinny, and I thought I was like horrible looking. You know what I mean? I thought I was fat. I thought I was horrible. And I hate how much how insecure I was. I mean, we all have our insecurities, but man, I know myself so much better now.
Yeah.
I like really like, I like myself. I can stand up for myself more now in a way that I never could have before. And I really like that about myself. And I don't take the same kind of shit I used to take from other people. And I really, really, really like that about myself. And I wouldn't like trade that to like go back to 22 and, you know, whatever. Also, by the way, my auditions are so much better now.
Right.
Because my confidence is and I've had all the experience to back it up.
Right.
Like kind of being, this is sort of like inside talk if you don't like audition or, you know, if you're not an actor, but like trying to like jump from school where you have like zero real life experience
right
into auditioning in like New York City against like some of the top actors in the world is like a ridiculous feat. I mean, it's like, you know, and like you have to have this crazy learning curve to even get even so-so at auditioning, you know? So my learning curve just took a long time, but also after doing the band and everything and kind of being like, fuck the industry, we're going to do our own thing. I like learned so much about what I can do and that there's not a lot I can't do, which is good. You know what I mean? I think that, or at least things that I want to do. And then when I do find something I can't do, then I learn how to do it. I don't know. And I don't think I know actually, not even, I don't think, I'm certain I didn't have the confidence or the, I don't know, the sense that was even an option when I was 22. So like, fuck everybody. I'm happy to be like where I'm at right now.
Yeah, the older I get, the things that make me the most scared, that's the thing I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to do that now.
Right. That whole like do the thing that scares you thing.
Yeah. Because those are the things like, I mean, even when we started the band, that was the most terrifying thing that I could think of to do.
God. It was so terrifying.
To play an instrument and sing a song that we had written ourselves and then be judged by other people. That wasn't something that I came out of the womb being like, I want to do that.
Right.
But then all of a sudden we found ourselves in Brooklyn doing it. And, you know,
and that was where we've had the
terrifying.
most success so far in our lives. We're going to have even more though, because we're not done.
No, we're just getting started.
And that was when we found this little article about like, you know, how we're all youth obsessed. It was in the Huffington Post. It was called, here's everything that's wrong with our under 30 obsession. And they kind of hit some points that I thought were like, definitely things that we struggle with. But one of the things that stood out to me the most, and the thing that I think I grapple with the most is, all these like 20 under 20 lists, 30 under 30 lists, 40 under 40 lists. And that like the pressure to be an insane success before the age of 30 is like a crazy amount of pressure. And the message that it sends is that once you hit 30, if you haven't started your
then it's all over.
Like IT company that's like changed the world, then you know
you aren't Mark Zuckerberg.
Then you are actually like a suck on society, and you should kill yourself. I mean, that's like that's how much I feel that. That's how intensely like I feel that it's like you are worthless and you deserve nothing in this world if you can't. You know,
what are you going to provide
by 23?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that like that kind of pressure is just insane. That's an insane thing. Like, and good on these kids that like are able to pull things together like at a young age. That's great, but that's not normal. Like, that's not everybody can't do that.
Good for them to know what they wanted to do. In my 20s, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew I wanted to be an actor and, you know, make movies and stuff, but certainly didn't know I wanted to be in a comedy band.
Yeah.
You know?
No, totally.
This was plan B, baby.
Yeah. And then also that like that when there's so much stress to kind of like be a big success, then sometimes you start going after the wrong things.
Right.
Because like, and I know I was worried when I was like 20, I was like, oh God, if by 30 I haven't done, you know, if I'm not like Meryl Streep by 30, then I'm nothing. Like first of all, what an insane way to think about something.
No pressure with that.
No pressure. And of course, like with that much pressure, you don't achieve very much, I don't think.
Right.
But also, just that like you don't allow yourself to like develop properly.
Right.
And like, and be like a whole human because you're like,
too
going
worried
for
about
something, yeah.
Right.
And then I wonder about like I would love to like do. I mean, I'm not going to do this, but somebody should do like a an article one day in like 30 years and go back to all those people that were like super successful at 20 and like what happened after. Like, did you peak at 20? There's this song that I love called Tiger Woods, and I won't go into the whole thing, but there's this line in it where he this is going to be weird, but there's this line in it where this guy, his only goal in life was to go down on Madonna. All he wanted was to go down on Madonna. And then one night in some hotel, he finally went down on Madonna. But then it was like, he went down on Madonna and he was like, what else do I have to live for now? I went on too young, too soon. He went down on Madonna too soon. And the idea is that like, if you like, you know, you have these goals in life, but sometimes if you achieve them too soon, then what?
Then what?
You know, and I think sometimes people, so if you want to go on Madonna, you have time.
Wow.
She's still around for now, at least. Anyway, that was a weird segue, but, or like a side note.
Who sings that song?
Dan Byrne.
Dan Byrne. Oh, okay.
I love that song. But anyway, but this idea that you don't even get to like live, you know, figure your life out a little bit because you're so pressured.
Well, I thought it was very interesting. I read that, the first form of discrimination that white men experience is ageism, and especially out in Silicon Valley, because there's the pressure out there is exactly what you're saying, is that they are trying to succeed and have their startups, you know, make the millions, be the next Mark Zuckerberg before they're 30.
Right.
So sometimes these people there might be 27 years old, but they show up at these interviews trying to look like a 22-year-old.
Right.
So these guys are showing up with Botox, with hair plugs.
Right.
Because they're trying to disguise the fact that they have a wife and kids.
Right.
So they're at such a young age, 27 years old, they're worried that they're not going to get the job because they're
too old.
Closer. They're too old. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but that's like and the reason they have to do that is because the companies are hiring so young.
Right.
So
right.
it's like, and it is, I don't even know. That's so frustrating.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg said in 2017, young people are just smarter. So he's gotten a lot of
such a young person thing.
That's
to say.
such a young person. Yeah, exactly.
And not that he's young anymore,
exactly.
but like he's also a fucking moron in so many ways,
right?
Like socially, and
but what a horrible statement to say.
It's not true.
It's not true.
It's just not true. I think young people are more in tune. I think, and actually maybe this will be changing a little bit as we all become a little bit more technically whatever.
Right.
But I think that like young people tend to be more in tune with like new things that are happening, and like when technology changes, they tend to have
they're the first to know.
Yeah, the first to know because they're young and like it's whatever. But like I think that's so. We as a culture have like fallen away so far from this notion of like being wise and like real education. And like even this article I was sort of reading talking about how like, anybody can get on Google now and just like quickly learn something in 2 minutes.
Right.
So this idea of like going to your elders and like learning from them is kind of like out the window. But the truth is like somebody that's lived through an experience is going to have a much more enriching thing to teach you than you're just reading like a little thing on Wikipedia for 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So like you can, everybody now can be like, master of none, but like a jack of all trades, and that's like, that's unfortunate.
Right.
We're losing something.
We're losing that
for sure. But I think that there is sort of like, I think there's going to be a sense of like, it's almost like a shell. I imagine it like the youth thing is kind of like this really thin shell of like what people really are. It's only the beginning of who we are, and it's like the age that you need to be living through. Like you have to be living your life to like deepen.
To root yourself more into.
Yeah, and to like know more about yourself, know more about what life means. Like, and it's that thing they always say, like the older you get, the less you know about, kind of in a way, because you realize how little you really know about how the universe works. I mean, your
world, but your world just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's more things to learn.
Well, you realize that there's so much to learn that it's not learnable. But like, I remember at 19, very specifically at 19, sitting in the car and not like with an attitude, but just sort of thinking about life and thinking like, oh, I did it. I know everything. I know everything now. And I really legitimately thought, I just thought like, I was like, why are there wars in the Middle East? Like if they just did this, it'd be fine. Like I don't understand what the problem is. And why don't they just do this? And like, I don't understand, like if I could rule it, I'd just fix it like this. Kind of like how Trump is. But, but I just like really thought I like got it all. And it was because I didn't know what I didn't know. And then when you start to realize like, oh, life is more complicated than you think, then you realize like, oh, I don't fucking know anything. Which is good, which is a good place to be, because then you can then you're now ready to learn. So Mark Zuckerberg's like comment about like young people know more, they're smarter, is like so sad to me. It just means that, to me, it sounds like he doesn't know himself at all.
Right.
He's like living on a very superficial level then, if that's how he really thinks.
Well, a similar story, in high school, I came to my parents and I said, I figured out how to feed the starving of the world. And my parents were like, oh, okay.
Right.
Let's hear this.
Yeah.
I figured it out. I said, if everybody on this planet donated $3, boom. And then my mom goes, I think we have that taxes. It's called taxes. And we goes back and everybody has to pay the taxes. Some people don't want to pay taxes, and it depends on the amount of money you make. And it honestly, like in high, that's too old. But in high school, I was like,
right.
Oh, cause I thought I had figured out how to
but that's
feed
kind
everybody.
of how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Like I just had a sense
when you
that
figure
like,
out,
you think you're like, oh, it's so simple. Like da-da-da. And you're like, oh, wait, my experience is not the same as everybody's experience on this planet. And like and I don't know myself as well as I think I do. And I don't know how things work because I don't know those things yet. So the other thing that I really liked that they said was that apparently that your biggest breakthroughs in life tend to happen, generally, they tend to happen in your late 30s. So they were specifically referring to scientific like studies and stuff. So like a scientist doing research tends to have a lot of their scientific breakthroughs between the ages of like 38 and 41. And sometimes it's like probably just needing to ruminate on something long enough. And some of it might be biology. I don't know. Like having your brain kind of like...
Well, Harrison Ford didn't make it until he was 35 when he was picked up for a little known film called Star Wars.
35. Yeah.
35.
They've also noted that that genius has been found not to decline with age. So it's not like you get stupider as you get older. Mm-hmm. It's just that like if anything, you learn more and you like have more experience stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was curious if there was a person that was like leading this. What is ageism, and are there activists like trying to take down media or the patriarchy about it? And I came across this woman, Ashton Applewhite, and she has a book called "This Chair Rocks," which is an interesting title.
I love that title.
Yeah, "This Chair Rocks: A Manifesto Against Ageism."
Cool.
And she's older, and she wasn't a writer, but then I guess her parents were both in the book business or in publishing, and she just kind of started getting fascinating with this idea of why do people view getting older the worst thing in the world?
Right.
And so she started researching it, and she actually found out through her research that in your life, I think she called it, I might be saying this wrong, but the you factor. People, when they're younger, when they're children, they are at their happiest. And then at their end of their life, they're happiest. Right. It's only the anxiety and the fear leading up to the older age that causes us being scared of aging and stuff. But when you're actually older, that's when you're at your happiest as well.
Yeah. There's something too. Does she call it the you factor? Because like your life is so much about like you kind of are turned in. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just because it makes
I think it's just a you.
But there's something to be said too, though, about like how when you're little, like your life kind of is about like you take care of yourself. You don't really like let the outside world like affect you so much. I think by the time you're old, you're like fuck everybody else. Like I'm gonna do me, and like I love my family and stuff, but still be like not affected so much by the outside and more turned into like you. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I guess I just made that up, but
I like that. It was beautiful, actually. I bet she'd like that. But she talks about trying to rephrase it rather than saying anti-aging, because we see that everywhere.
Right.
Anti-wrinkle cream, anti-aging cream, anti this, anti-whatever. But she really wants to change it to pro-aging, to really take away that fear of getting older.
Right.
And why do people fear it? Because they fear that they're going to end up in a nursing home. They fear them of dementia, but it's like, she said 4% of, older adults end up in nursing homes. Right. So it's actually a very small percent.
The other thing, though, aside from just being afraid of being in a nursing home, I think the big thing we're not talking about is death.
Right.
Death. Is that we do a very bad job in this society, like dealing with death, and that how that's, But would you want to live forever if you could?
No, not at all.
What if you could live? What if you could be like youthful in your body work? Because one thing is like, I don't want to be like 200 and then be in a body of a 200-year-old and I'm like, that's like crickling out.
Right.
That's terrible. What if you could be like young for like 200, 300, forever?
No, because I am really interested in what is after.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because
I get so bored here.
Yeah, I'd get so bored. But one of my favorite movies too is Death Becomes Her. That's such a great one. They're trying to fight ageism. But no, I definitely, so would you?
No, I think no. Yeah. Also, especially if all my friends were like, I have to think of all these practical things. Like, well, if all my friends are gone, well, that sucks. And then also I think about like overpopulation, and it's like, that just like a nightmare. Like no one would go anywhere.
But you could be living on like another planet by then. That'd be kind of cool. Just to see you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I also agree that like, I don't even know that this is all there is. Like, what if you're like delaying going to the best place ever? Maybe there's somewhere we go. It's so fun and amazing.
Maybe. But the way that she would say it is that, don't fear getting older because of death. You're dying right now.
Totally. No, totally.
Yeah. And so that's why you have
could get
to
like hit by a bus or whatever.
Yeah, you could get hit by a bus. But that's why, I mean, you really have to live life to the fullest every single day.
Right.
And be present and be mindful and, find that sort of peace within. And I really struggle with that because sometimes I live in the past and sometimes I'm so concerned about the future that I forget to live in the moment. Right. And that's the most important.
They say that living in the past is like depression. Living in the future is anxiety.
Right.
And that's the present stuff that's important.
Yeah.
Also, like, I had one of those, like, moments when I was falling asleep the other night where I was like, oh, right. Because I was, like, panicking about, like, what am I doing with my life? And, and what are my next move? And I'll procrastinate stuff. Like, I'll have a project I want to work on, but I'll procrastinate because I'm like, is it even worth it? And I don't know. I mean, I might just go to these places. But I had that moment the other day where I was literally laying in bed and I was like, oh, this is my life. This is everything.
Right.
Lying in this bed right now is the present. This is all I have. There's nothing more. Then that's not, if you're not in the right mindset, that might sound depressing, but it's not. It's just, it is what it is. Like right now, my right now isn't in that bed. And I'm thinking about that. My right now is sitting here
talking to you.
And like, that's all we have right now.
Right.
Luckily right now in this moment, I would be appeased because we're creating something. But
that's true. That's the artist. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
But so with this woman, I do encourage people, check it out. This Chair Rocks, a manifesto against ageism. But the neat thing that she has on her website, she has a place called Yo, is this ageism? And people can write in and just ask, like, is this ageism? Because it is a little bit confusing of knowing, like, well, especially with marketing. So an example of this, somebody wrote in, Evian has a new campaign. And what it says is, I want to blaze trails. I want to #live young. So somebody wrote that in to be like, hey, is this ageism? And she wrote, #live young. Evian, really? Trailblazers come in all ages. I turned 67 yesterday, and living means aging. Living young really means stop the clock, a foolish and futile aspiration, especially for people who want to blaze trails.
Totally.
So that's a simple example of that.
Well, that makes me think too about how, like, this notion again, constantly pushing this idea that you have to be like 30 before, if you haven't made it by 30, you never make it, or you haven't made it by 40, you never make it. Like, so many people. How old was, what's her name when she wrote Harry Potter? I mean, wasn't she much older?
Yeah.
And there's people that really don't, I mean, Julia Childs is another person that really didn't she had like a whole other life prior to that. Right. That's really cool. And like, so if you have an impulse to try something or do something, like, don't worry about your age about it. Just do it anyway. Yeah. And also, like, just because something's never been done before, why can't you be the first? So like if there's like some punk band or something, oh my God, I know what I want to talk about.
Oh,
there's this rap duo, this rap group called Pete and Bass that are from England. And they're these like two dudes. They gotta be like in their 60s or something. And I guess like the like rap world is notoriously ageist. So like the fact that like Jay-Z is still kind of like up there. He was kind of the guy that was sort of trailblazing like older rappers, but even him, like, he's been so famous for so long.
Right.
Like, of course he can hang in there. He has so much money. He can do whatever he wants. But like the idea of older rappers kind of sneaking in later in life, the industry has not been very welcoming to older rappers from what I understand. But then there's these two white English dudes, Pete and Bass. They go hard. They go real hard. They're amazing. They're really good. People have been shocked at how good are coming up. Their rhymes and stuff are really great. I don't know where they're getting their beats from, but they're really amazing. And they're just two old dudes and they had never really, I think that the story was something along the lines of like, oh yeah, I heard like a rap song and we were like, that's neat. We like that song. Why don't we try something like that? Oh my gosh. It was just like that. And they also, I think one of them just got out of jail and stuff. So they're kind of like tough guys anyway, but they definitely they are like the real thing because they're talking about like rough, tough stuff, but they're actually living it, and they've actually lived the life to like back it up.
They know what they're talking about because they've lived it.
So they've really like started like blowing up a little. Now they're doing like concerts. Like I'm always like, oh, are they too old to be in like a live? No, they're fucking pounding beers and like doing shots and like, they're living the life full blown, full out. And they started it like in their 60s.
Right. Wow, that's cool.
It's really cool.
Huh. Well, I wanted to talk about internet sensation Batty Winkle. Have you heard of her?
Absolutely.
This woman, she came across my Instagram a couple years ago, and I was like, who on earth? So basically, it's this woman. She's known for like wearing crazy clothes, and she just turned, I think she turned 92 this month. That's 92 years crazy. Old. And so I follow her on Instagram. She has millions of followers at this point. She's partnered with different brands, Smirnoff Ice.
She did some concert recently, like with Katy Perry or something.
No, she she went to Coachella and was with Casey Musgraves.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
She came out on stage. I mean, so what happened? So I was like, where did this woman come from?
Right.
What's her story? So basically, she is from Knoxville, Tennessee, and she lives there now. But she, I guess 15 years ago, not 15 years ago. I think 20 or so years ago, her husband passed away, and then her son passed away. So she was saying in an interview I watched that for 15 years she lived in grief. She lived out in the country, and just mowed her own lawn, and she had people come visit her, but she really just stayed to herself. And then one day she was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And so she moved into town, and she also has all these grandchildren and great grandchildren. And so one day she was hanging out with one of her great grandchildren who dressed her up in like a cute tie dye short, cut off shorts look, and like took her picture, and it went viral, and Rihanna started following her.
Oh,
and then it started, then other people started following her and then inviting her to events. And so then it's kind of a family affair. Her grandchildren help dress her. One of her other grandchildren is her manager. And together they have this Instagram following. But the thing that's so incredible about her is just her positivity of like, again, like you have to live every single day to the fullest.
Right.
She'd suffered from such tragedy of losing a son and losing her husband, and like lived in that grief, and she could have just lived in that for the rest of her life.
Right.
But she really just decided not to. Yeah. And so I just think, yeah.
You know what I like the most about that story?
What?
Is that like, I feel like I've been kind of like coming out of this, like I went through like a really rough, like a couple years ago, where just like personally, like my life was just like not in a good place, and was like really struggling with all that. And I think that like, sometimes I lament those like 3 years that I feel like I kind of like lost to some degree. And I think like, God damn it. Like, why did I let myself get to that place where I was like losing time and like whatever. But then to think like, you know, she spent 15 years in that place, you know, and for real, with really big things, you know, and like, I bet you she might regret that time. I don't really know. But more importantly, like she still moved forward. It didn't matter how long she had been in that space. She still made the choice to move forward. And that's the defining moment of like deciding to live.
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there who like is really lost right now and does not know what their next step is, and they feel like they're behind, or they feel like they don't have like a shot at anything, it's too late for them. Like, it's not. Like,
no.
You can just, and I think the other thing is like, it does not happen overnight. You know, I mean, for her, it did. She kind of had this like lucky thing. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it happens overnight.
Right.
But also, there's nothing wrong with just like starting to take steps towards the thing you kind of want to try, you know, and like normally it'll take a little while, but like, I'm not in the same place I was in, you know, a year ago. Because I sort of like decided one day, like, enough of this, you know,
enough of this.
I'm not too old. I'm not too, you know, like my life isn't over yet. I can still do things.
Well, I think a big thing, my older sister says this all the time. I'm too old for that. I'm too old to stay out. I'm too old to drink, you know, rosé spritzers all night. I'm like, what?
Right.
You're just getting started. I've removed that phrase from my language.
Yeah.
I do not say that because I am not too old for anything.
Right.
You know, I go back to my great Aunt Betty.
Oh yeah.
Great Aunt Betty. A fun story about her. She loved to skydive. Now, she's 103 years old. In her 90s, she was supposed to be on the Today Show. They had found out that this woman in her late 90s, she'd almost turned 100. So I think she was like 98 or 99 years old. And she was going to skydive because she just, all of a sudden in her 90s, she learned that she loves skydiving.
Yeah.
And so they were going to do, a full story on great Aunt Betty jumping out of planes at 90 years old, living life to the fullest. But then I think like 9/11 happened or something that day, or some huge news story, and so they couldn't, you know. But she still jumped out of the plane. Now she's 103, and she doesn't do that anymore. She can't. Her hips will pop off. But
so she is too old for that.
But she is.
But she like was doing it way late. And
she was a huge inspiration for so many other people that then started to jump out of planes as well.
Great. Yeah. All I want is to get people to just jump out of planes.
But I mean,
really she's really awesome.
Yeah. I've just been very lucky to have these like badass women in my life that are like, you know.
Well, I had a grandmother who had
fullest.
survived the Holocaust and like gone through a lot of like tragedy in her life. And she died at 95, but she had this thing where I remember it about when she was about 90. She would like, she lived in Queens, New York, and she would like take me out to dinner sometimes and stuff. And she'd meet me like in Manhattan from Queens. Like she was on the subway doing her thing. I remember like one of the last times we went out to dinner before she moved into a different area, she was like, I was saying something like, well, what's your next step? Because she was thinking about moving closer to her son and all these things. And she was like, well, I was thinking like this year I might like start packing up. And then in the next 4 years, then when I'm up in this part of the town, like then I'll be doing this. And then in 10 years, I'll be doing this. And then maybe in 15 years, I'll be over here. And so she was like planning for way down in the future. And she had no intention of slowing down at that time at all. And I thought I was like, that's the key to like living a long, happy life is that like you always have plans. You always have something coming up. You're not just like resigned to like, I guess I'm just going to die soon. She like kept herself busy and she always had goals and things. And then honestly, she died at night. We always say that she died at 95 because she just was done. She's like, I did it. I did it. She had her big 95th birthday that she planned and organized. And then she was just sort of like died kind of shortly after that. And it really felt like a choice.
Wow.
Yeah, she just was like,
she was like, I had my party now.
Yeah, I'm a big party, and I did what I needed to do, and I think I'm ready. And I think that really was kind of her thing, and I think that is like so awesome.
Yeah. Huh.
Anyway.
Well, change your language. You're not too young.
Very good.
You can do anything you want.
Not too young, not too old.
Dust yourself off and live life to the fullest every single day. Yeah. If you have stories like that, maybe we'd love to hear them.
My gosh.
Yeah. Something that you really took a chance on, and, you know.
You can send them to difficultwomenpodcast@gmail.com. Please send with the correct email, that one right there.
Yeah.
And also tell your friends and let them know about this podcast. If you're enjoying it, I'm going to get more people's ears on this. Mother.
Yeah.
Here's a song. Goodbye.
You got eyes like pools of silk. Your two lips are perfect, your skin white as milk. It don't matter if you love me, we'll never be. 'Cause Connie said that you gotta be deep. Connie says you gotta be deep. I know you're a nice guy, you may be perfect for me, but I'm not gonna risk it to stay away from my biscuit. 'Cause Connie said that you gotta be deep. Only dated Connie for a month or two, but she